Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Have you ever said to yourself, I just need to get motivated? Only to wait days, weeks, sometimes months, and that spark never comes? Yeah, you're not alone. But here's the uncomfortable truth. If you're relying on motivation to change your life, you're already setting yourself up to fail. Let's talk about why. Today, we're unpacking one of the biggest misconceptions in self-improvement: discipline versus motivation. What actually drives long-term change? Why do some people stick to their goals while others fall off after a few days? We're going to break this down using psychology, neuroscience, real strategies, and some straight-up truths that might challenge how you've been thinking about growth. Okay, first we need to clear something up. Most people treat motivation like it's fuel. You wait for it to show up and then boom, you take action. But here's the problem. Motivation is unreliable. It's a feeling. And feelings? They fluctuate. You're not going to feel motivated every day. Some days you wake up ready to conquer the world. Other days, you just want to binge Netflix and pretend your to-do list doesn't exist. Relying on motivation is like waiting for the perfect weather to go to the gym. It's rare, unpredictable, and a great excuse to do nothing. Now let's talk about discipline. And no, it's not about being harsh with yourself. Discipline is about consistency over mood. It's choosing to show up, especially when you don't feel like it. Think of it like this. Motivation is a guest. Discipline is a roommate. One shows up when it feels like it. The other lives with you. Motivation might get you started on Monday. Discipline keeps you going on Thursday, when you're tired, stressed, or bored out of your mind. And here's something people forget. Discipline isn't something you're born with. It's a skill. You build it just like a muscle. You've probably heard people say, I'm just not a disciplined person. But here's the thing, that's not fixed. It's not some personality trait you're either born with or not. Discipline is trainable. Literally. Neuroscience backs this up. Every time you make a small disciplined choice, like saying no to that impulse buy, or getting up when your alarm goes off, you're actually strengthening neural pathways in your brain. Especially in a part of the brain called the prefrontal cortex. That's the area in charge of decision-making, focus, and self-control. This is all thanks to something called neuroplasticity, which basically means your brain isn't set in stone. It physically changes based on how you use it. There's research to back this up, like a 2015 study by Tang and colleagues, which found that regular mental training can lead to measurable changes in self-regulation and brain structure. So yeah, discipline isn't about being born with iron willpower. It's about showing up consistently enough that your brain starts to make it easier for you. The psychology behind it. Psychologically, there's a term known as delayed gratification. It's the ability to resist short-term temptations in order to achieve long-term goals. It's the same concept behind the famous marshmallow experiment by Walter Mischel in 1972. Kids were given a marshmallow and told, you can eat this now or wait 15 minutes and get two. Some waited, some didn't. The crazy part? The kids who waited tended to do better in life decades later academically, socially, financially. Why? Because that ability to act based on commitment, not comfort, that's the heart of discipline. It's not about denying yourself everything, it's about being clear on what you want most, not just what you want right now. Practical strategy. Actionable steps on how to build discipline. So how do you build discipline in real life? Here are 3 things that actually work. 1. Start small and keep it doable. Don't try to overhaul your entire life overnight. You don't need a 5 a.m. wake-up call, a perfect diet, and a 10-step routine right away. Instead, pick one small habit you can do every day, even when you're tired or busy. It could be something as simple as stretching for 2 minutes, drinking a glass of water in the morning, or writing down 3 things you want to focus on. Small actions done consistently build momentum and confidence. Here's an example. Let's say you want to build an exercise habit, but going to the gym 5 times a week feels overwhelming. That's completely valid. Intensive routines require both time and mental bandwidth, which many people don't consistently have, especially at the start. Here's how to make it actionable. Define the minimum effective dose. Instead of committing to a full workout, start with something you can do daily without resistance. For example, every morning after I brush my teeth, I'll do 5 minutes of bodyweight movement, like squats, lunges, or stretching. Anchor the habit to an existing routine. This is known as habit stacking from James Clear's work on behavioral psychology. Attaching a new habit to a stable one, like brushing your teeth, gives it a consistent cue, making it easier to remember and repeat. Avoid intensity creep. One mistake people make is escalating too soon. Stick to the 5-minute version for at least 2 weeks. The goal isn't to challenge your limits, it's to train consistency. Once the habit feels automatic, then you can gradually scale. Why it works. Psychologically, this approach taps into what's called self-efficacy, your belief in your ability to follow through. When tasks are perceived as doable, you're more likely to act. Completing small, manageable goals builds positive reinforcement, strengthens neural pathways involved in habit formation, particularly in the basal ganglia, and reduces the cognitive friction that leads to procrastination. So, yes, it's simple, but it's not easy. You're not just building a habit. You're training your brain to associate identity with action, something that compounds over time. 2. Set up your environment to support you. Here's the truth. Discipline gets a lot easier when your environment works with you, not against you. If you want to eat better, keep healthier snacks visible and make the junk food harder to reach, or better yet, don't buy it. If you're trying to focus more, put your phone in another room or turn off notifications. It's not about having more willpower, it's about making the right choice, the easy choice. Example. You want to read more in the evenings, but you find yourself endlessly scrolling on your phone. It's not that you don't want to read, it's that the path of least resistance is leading you somewhere else. This is where environment design becomes essential. Here's how to make it actionable. Control your default cues. If your phone is within arm's reach, your brain will default to it, especially when you're tired or mentally depleted. Instead, put your phone in another room, or use a temporary app blocker during your reading time. Place the desired behavior in plain sight. Environmental cues are powerful. Keep the book you want to read visible and accessible. Don't put it away on a shelf. Leave it open on your bed, your desk, or the coffee table, exactly where you tend to sit or relax. Establish a micro-routine. Create a simple rule that sets the tone, such as, when I sit on the couch after dinner, I'll read at least 1 page before doing anything else. This primes your behavior without requiring motivation in the moment. Why it works. Behavioral psychology shows that we tend to follow the path of least resistance, not because we're lazy, but because the brain conserves energy by defaulting to what's easy and familiar. By designing your environment to remove friction from the behavior you want, and add friction to the behavior you're trying to reduce, you make disciplined choices easier to sustain. You're not relying on willpower, which is limited and unreliable. You're making the right action the convenient one, which over time rewires your default responses. 3. Celebrate progress, not perfection. Your brain loves feedback. When you see progress, even tiny wins, it becomes easier to keep going. Try using a simple habit tracker, crossing off days on a calendar, or just jotting down what you did at the end of the day. You're not trying to be perfect, you're trying to build consistency. And seeing those small wins add up can be incredibly motivating. Example. You want to build a nightly journaling habit to help clear your mind, reduce anxiety, or reflect on your day. You start strong, but after missing a few nights, you begin to feel like you've failed and stop altogether. This is one of the most common traps in habit formation, believing that progress has to be perfect to be meaningful. Here's how to make it actionable. Use a visible tracking system. Choose a method that gives you instant feedback, like a wall calendar, a habit tracking app, or even a sticky note checklist. Each night, check off the habit, even if you only write 1 sentence. The goal is to build the identity of someone who journals, not to write a masterpiece. Set realistic benchmarks. Instead of aiming for a 100% streak, use a more forgiving goal like, I'll journal at least 4 nights a week, or more days than not. This aligns with psychological flexibility, a key factor in sustainable behavior change. Review your progress weekly. Take a few minutes at the end of the week to look at your tracker. Reflect on what worked, what didn't, and what you want to improve. This practice activates reward-based learning, reinforcing the behavior and helping it stick. Why it works. The brain responds strongly to positive reinforcement. When you track and see visible proof of progress, your brain releases dopamine, which makes you more likely to repeat the behavior. Research in behavioral psychology and self-determination theory shows that perceived competence, which is believing that you're making progress, is a critical ingredient in sustained motivation. When you focus on showing up, not on doing it perfectly, you reduce the likelihood of all or nothing thinking, which is one of the biggest psychological reasons people abandon habits. Over time, This shift in mindset turns behavior from effortful to automatic, from something you try to do into something you naturally do. Before we wrap up, I want to share a few simple ways to think about motivation versus discipline, because getting this right can completely change how you approach long-term change. Here are some ways to put that into perspective. Motivation is a spark. Discipline is the steady flame. Motivation fuels the start. Discipline drives the journey. Motivation is the why, discipline is the how. Motivation gets you going, discipline keeps you going. Motivation is the moment, discipline is the method. If you wait to feel ready, you'll wait forever. If you build systems and show up anyway, change becomes inevitable. And get this, when you stay consistent long enough, motivation actually starts to show up more often, not the other way around. So stop waiting, start doing, even if it's tiny, even if it's messy. That's where real transformation begins. If this hit home for you, drop a comment below. What's one habit you're working on right now? And if you found this valuable, consider subscribing. We dive deep into mindset, psychology, and how to become the kind of person you actually want to be.